But anyway, so that's one element. The other element within projects, there's kind of, as well as these cycles of hot and cold topics for projects, within projects there's these cycles as well. And at the beginning of the project, you're desperately trying to make people interested and bring them on board, and you want them to buy into it. And then if the project actually takes off and you suddenly have a team of people, these are often quite influential people, and they're people who without them you can't make the project happen. And that part of me, I think, that just wants to control everything. You know, you can't control people. You have a team, and things can get a little chaotic, and because we're all into, you want a team, okay? And this is probably a little bit of a controversial thing, I don't know, but I've always been nervous about. I always remember reading this stuff about, I'm not going to mention any directors, but a particular director who would get his name as a such and such film and script by such and such, and in fact there were like 12 writers and so forth. But I understand why he would do that, because if you've come up with something that you feel, it might not be new, but that you feel is really new, okay, and you're only going to live for what, 80, 90 years, and you've got this opportunity to reach the world, you know what I mean, the public to a degree, what you want your name on it. You know, this is me. This isn't just a project that I was part of a team of. This is me. Or maybe if it is a 2 or 3, if it's genuinely been come up with, and I've known projects where there have been 3 people who've come up with it, and then that's fine. But most of my stuff, I've come up with the idea myself, and it's been, to me, a unique expression, as I've already said. So I go into the project, and then with a couple of my projects, they've got very big, what for me is very big. And people have come on board who are influential, and who I have to give them some creative freedom, and I have to give them some credit. And you have to navigate those choppy markets carefully. You have to navigate that part of the project carefully. It's trying to maintain, I remember there's one particular project, my opera project. I had somebody who was a consultant, the financial consultant. Although I worked on Wall Street, I hadn't been on Wall Street for years. And so I got this guy from Barclays Bank who agreed to be financial consultant. And in fact, the project ended up being sponsored by Barclays Bank and supported by Plymouth University. So this opera, it got to the point where this guy from Barclays Bank, Greg Davies, who's head of quantitative and behavioural finance at Barclays Bank, he did so much. You know, he made it not just technically and creatively, but emotionally possible for me to finish this project. And although to me, in many ways, this opera, Open Outcry, is my greatest thing I've done so far, I had to give him some credit. And I ended up changing it to Open Outcry, originated by Alexis Kirke, composed or created by Alexis Kirke and Greg Davies. And of course, there's another side to this. When you tell someone earlier on in a project that you're giving them a co-creator credit, they invest themselves so much more into the project as well. So you get, as what they put in more, they know they're going to get more afterwards, and so they put in more. So whether Greg would have done that anyway, I think he probably would have. But in general, I have I've got to be careful what I say, but I find that when I give people, and when I started doing projects, all right, I was really by Alexis Kirke, by Alexis Kirke, by Alexis Kirke, and you're seeing when I make videos, my name's Alexis Kirke. I always brand myself. But then a few years in, I read something, The Go-Giver, a book called The Go-Giver, and it said if you give in business, you know, that's the way to go. And also I follow spiritual principles. I try to live by spiritual principles. I fail 75% of the time. But a key spiritual principle is trying to give out. And so this is The Go-Giver, and and so I started to say my pieces, and I post-dated on some of the pieces I did. I post-dated it. I put by Alexis Kirke and another person who contributed a lot to it, by Alexis Kirke and 2 other people. And that's sometimes I look at it and I think, oh, Alexis, you came up with the idea, you know, you were the heart of this project, and you've now gone and given 50% of credit or 66% of credit to other people. But there's something in me that tells me this is the way forward for me, because if I just try and just make it an Alexis Kirke film, an Alexis Kirke thing, no, I don't mind calling it an Alexis Kirke film, but if I try and take credit for everything, I think it would be like ever decreasing spirals. You know, you need to, even giving some, I think it's preferable to give someone too much credit than too little. That's my philosophy at the moment. That may change, but there you go.